paper scraps. They seem to be never ending at times, don't they? So for this month's Joy of Blue collaboration share, I decided to play with scraps again and have a few different types of projects to share. Hey guys, it's Beth. Welcome. For this month's Joy of Blue collaboration, I am finishing off the blue scraps. Yay! So I kind of decided I had been doing scraps the last few months anyway, and for Smash Our Stash this month it was scraps, so I really just wanted to at least get the blue done and kind of make a dent in my stash, and I did. So I wanted to share with you the projects I made today, and there's also a list of collaborators in the description box below who played with the color blue, and they will share their projects with you. So I'll start with the biggest projects first. I went through some of the pictures that I needed to scrapbook and looked to see if there were any that I could do with blue scraps. So I found I just had 2 photos from Ellie's Swim Lessons from 2015 that I needed to scrapbook yet. And so I thought that would be good. It's a small amount of photos to work with, and I can figure out how to use some scraps. So this one, I just did a grid. I believe these are 2.5-inch squares, and just pulled some coordinating blue and green and gray patterns together. Did a scrap across here. And then I also went into my silhouette and found a couple of swimming files that I had and just cut those out of some scraps as well. And then when I was in there, I found that the Swimming Lessons was already there as kind of like I think it was a cut file. I just turned it into a print file and used it as a cheater title so that it could be a quick title. And then I did have some swimming stickers that I just pulled in as well. So here is Ellie's version, and again this time for scraps, instead of squares I did strips, but then I also did use my silhouette to cut a couple of those little swimming images, and then again peppered in some stickers. So that used up some scraps. And then I went through some of the strips that I had in my pile that I was working with and pulled out some solid colors that were about roughly 2 inches wide, and then I just trimmed it down to about 6, rounded the corners, punched my holes, added my yarn, and then just took some other blue scraps, blue and gray scraps, and punched some circles, or not circles, geez, hearts. These are hearts. And just made a handful of bookmarks. And then I did cards. I had a few of the grid pattern. If you watched my Smash Our Stash, I had used some cover dies, and I had a few of these grid patterns left that were gray that I hadn't used, and so I thought those would work well with Joy of Blue. So I went through some of the scraps in my blue Joy of Blue pile and used the die to cut down the rectangles and squares for the inside pieces. So I have several of these where I just use a combination of blues and grays and some black and white. And then I had a bunch of these happy birthday sentiments that I had printed out from my silhouette, and I liked them because they were nice and big, so I used those up. And then I just went to random scraps, and a lot of these I didn't even use card sketches for. I was just kind of throwing scraps together to see what I could come up with. So I did a lot of happy birthday cards just because it was kind of easy. And most of the cards are A2 except this one, which is a mini slimline. And that was only because at one point I had gone through blue scraps and cut down card mats. And so I had mostly A2 size card mats, but there were a few that weren't wide enough, but that were longer. And so I had made them into mini slimline card mats. And this is a sketch. It's Operation Right Home sketch number 154, but I never have to pull it out because I have it memorized. It's my favorite sketch. And there's another one of those. This one just used up strips. And on the insides of the cards, I do have scraps as well to help me use some up. This was a fun one. Brought in some orange with this rainbow pattern here. I kind of went with that dark teal blue. This is another kind of fun modern one too, with the kind of chartreuse gold color there in the background. Kind of some simple cards. But I pulled out in that pile of scraps, I had blues, and then I had some greens, some yellows, some grays, and then whites and blacks. So that's why you see a lot of green here, because I just think I like green and blue together. Some birthday cards. This was just a 12-inch strip that I had that was already torn. So I just cut it down to fit 3 card panels. I had also taken some of my scraps and die cut some dragonflies and butterflies. And then, gosh, months ago for Joy of Blue, I had made die cut some embellishments. And so I had a bunch of coffee cups. And so I brought in some of those. I like this one too, just kind of very clean, modern looking with this bluish green eucalyptus-like leaf pattern. And this was Operation Right Home, sketch number 156. This one, just a bunch of strips in the background. This one, strips going this way. These were some more of the coffee cups that I made for a previous month, and then found a Thanks a Latte sticker sentiment. This one, again, used one of my gray dragonflies that I made and a bunch of strips. This is just a sketch by Kathy Zielski. And then I have a bunch of these where I had a bunch of strips that were roughly 1.5, 1 3/4 inch wide. And so I just trimmed them down so they were all 2 3/4 inches long, and then kind of put them in a grid. And then I added something down here at the bottom on most of them. This one was had a vinyl elephant that I had cut out of vinyl scraps a while back. So I just made that like a congratulations baby card. I also had some sentiments that I had die cut out of blue scraps in the past, and so I brought some of those in where I could. This one, when I was cutting out the swimming images, I had some room left on my mat, and so I decided to, actually I think it was left on the scraps that I was using. I found a car, like an old car, and so I decided that would be a good blue image to cut. That could be a good Father's Day, so that's what I used it for. And then also at some point I had made a bunch of popsicles using green and shades of like turquoise teal, and I had the Stay Cool sentiment that was cut out of scrap vinyl, so I just put it on, and just a fun little simple card. So I have like over 30 cards here, like 32 or something like that. And then 5 bookmarks, and then 2 scrapbook pages. And I'm done with the blue scraps, people. I'm sorry. Thank you for all of you who've watched my blue scrap videos for Joy of Blue for like the last 4 months. But I get to move on next month. Blue scraps are done. So thank you everyone for watching today. Again, please be sure to check out the description box below for the other participants. And thank you, Sarah at Crafting and Relaxing, who hosts this collaboration, for motivating me to use my blue. Thank you all so much for your time today, and hope you all have a very crafty day.